Welcome back to another episode of All the Kings Men. Joining me, Darren Granger and Zach Dooley. Gentlemen, how are you guys doing?
Good, thanks.
Usually I go one at a time. Today,
you just lumped us
Sorry,
together.
all right. And featuring Zach Dooley. How are you doing?
There we go. Yeah.
All right. Darren, we're here to talk today about the third jerseys that were debuted on opening night, home opener against the Colorado Avalanche, and also the new locker room at Crypto.com Arena. I want to start with the locker room because the locker room, first of all, it has so for those who are unaware, the Clippers no longer play at Crypto.com Arena, and that, I'm assuming, opened up a lot of space to expand the Kings facilities.
Yes, it did. 2 years ago, we started this process, and at the time, we knew the Clippers were leaving. We were going to absorb that. The Clippers space was actually going to be, originally it was going to be like a lounge club for the building to use for all events. And then as time went on, the building decided they didn't want to use that space for that reason. So the Kings and Lakers basically absorbed the old Clippers room in our square footage.
So the first thing I noticed when I walked into the new Kings locker room at Crypto.com Arena, and Zach, help me out here if there's a better word for it, there's kind of like a foyer to the locker room with like a display case of trophies. How was the decision reached to have that sort of rest area before you reach the main locker room?
Yeah, the architects call that the vestibule.
The vestibule. Okay,
vestibule.
Perfect. That's a much better word than foyer.
I think it was partly to do with a few things, but we wanted to display the team history in that case and leave room for future championships in that case. So that's why it's as big as it is.
I'm glad you mentioned the possibility of future trophies, because there is extra space in there, but there's stuff in there, and it's spaced out to occupy that space. It could easily be reallocated.
Yeah. So that's the reason why we did that. Actually, mostly of what you see today in there is probably not our final product as far as that space is.
The vestibule.
The vestibule,
Okay.
Yes. And the other reason we wanted a place where the players, you guys have seen on the road and even at home and at the old, say last season, the players will kind of filter outside the room and they stand outside and kind of get ready before 3, 4, 5 minutes before they take the ice. We wanted a place that was inside where they could do that, so they could get their sticks, some space to move. And we think we got a decent space there, and plus, it allowed for some display of our history. If you look on the ceiling outside in that area, there's all the retired numbers are in the ceiling there.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, very subtle, but it's there, and we think the locker room turned out great.
So the ceiling that can't be ignored, and for anybody who wants a visual reference to what we're talking about, I think Kings PR or the LA Kings Twitter account posted a video like touring the space.
Okay.
So it should be easy enough to find. In the locker room, in the main locker room at Crypto.com Arena, on the ceiling is what do we call it? A map of an ice rink.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is, a diagram of an ice rink.
Yep.
And the first time I was in there, I was on the wrong end, the end with 77 and so again, you're going to have to look and see what the heck we're talking about. There are the goals scored in Game 6 of the 2012 Stanley Cup Final diagrammed out on the rink, on the ceiling.
Yes.
But most of the goals were scored at one end of the ice. I found myself noticing it on the wrong end of the ice, so I didn't instantly understand what I was looking at. Who came up with that idea, and how long did it take to figure out a way to translate that idea to the ceiling?
The process of the dressing room itself, we really wanted to make as big a statement as we could in that room. We think it's the most visible room when it's on TV. I think it's the room that our players want to be theirs. Mm-hmm. And so we focused a lot of time on the entire room, but that one especially. The ceiling, it started out originally where our architects had seen some video footage of the analytics that they use in game, where they have those displays of the players moving around on the ice and that type of thing. So they took that and thought, could we incorporate that into the ceiling? Then they started working with a ceiling company because we wanted to have something different. We just didn't want to throw the logo up there and it looked like all the other locker rooms. So between the company that we ended up going with to build the ceiling and the graphic that we could produce on it, we came up with the idea of honoring those 6 goals that were scored in 2012 to clinch our first Stanley Cup. And yeah, it's cool. I know Jeff Carter called me after our first game. He had saw video footage that whoever was broadcasting that game, ESPN or whatever, provided, and he thought it was pretty cool that his number got to be up there.
Definitely up there.
Yeah.
It's good if it's Jeff Carter approved, I think.
Yeah.
So we're 4 years into the crypto renovations as a whole. Did having this be the final wave, I'm sure you might have liked it a little bit sooner, but did having that time, you said a couple of years went into this, give you guys the chance to do more creatively with it and maybe do some cooler things that you might not have if it was a real like fire drill doing it like immediately?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we'd had a year to plan for what would have been last summer. That was the plan. Original plan was to get all this done last summer. And then that didn't, we had to make that change because of the change in the Clippers area. But it also allowed us to gain some more square footage, but it would had to be design needed to be recreated. So that was all of last season. Basically, was getting through that design process with the architects and the builders, and then this summer, essentially, when both teams were eliminated, we started demolition. It was like 3 days after of the visitors, both visitors' locker rooms and Kings and Lakers. And I'd say our room essentially started, the new room started around July 1. So, and then we got in like probably 2 days before that preseason game. So it was a little tight to get in, but we're happy to get in. It's not, I wouldn't say we're 100% done from what you guys have seen in the first 2 games that we've been down there, but I'd say we're like 90% done.
When I think of the job that you do and the team that you work with, I think of it, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I think of it as a very like tactile, craft-based profession, right? Like you're down there, you're dealing with equipment, you're, changing things. I've seen the equipment room. It runs like a Swiss watch. It's really impressive.
Yeah.
And then every now and then these stories pop up where it's like, who designed that incredible artwork? Oh, Darren Granger did. I'm like, wait, what? Like, where does this artistic...
I don't know. I think guys in my position, because the room is so, we're there every single day. Our staff plays a large part in every area that's down there, whether it's the weight room or training room or the coach's office. I think it kind of gets, set to us to make some decisions on how it should look and how it should feel. I think the biggest thing about crypto was we had a nice room before, but we kept putting lipstick on, the room that was there. The space didn't change. We couldn't make many changes because of some structural stuff that's down there. So we had these issues with flow. You guys were in the old room, and you essentially had to walk straight into the main locker room, main dressing room to get anywhere. If you need to go to the training room or anywhere back there. And then once you were back there, we had some issues to get people around, properly without, privacy issues and stuff like that. So that was really what we wanted to fix, was just have a better flow of traffic and get those things taken care of. And then, I think obviously we wanted it to look beautiful too, which, I think I know that our players were happy with it, and I think we've fixed up what we've had issues with in the past.
It does look beautiful. I mean, for a locker room, it's classy.
We think they did a great job. Yeah, and I like the areas like the players' lounge. We think it turned out so good. We got special lighting in there that makes it almost seem like the first night I was in there. It was like 9 o'clock at night, and the lighting in there makes you feel like it's the middle of the day. So
is that just a bulb issue, or is that light placement? Like, how do you?
Well, it's actually the light. It's we worked with a company called Brainlit, and that's essentially what they do. They, the lighting, it changes. Pregame, there's a setting for pregame, so really bright, gives you lots of energy. And then post game, the lighting changes and it's supposed to wind you down and
Wow.
get you
Okay.
more relaxed. So yeah,
That
it's
is mood lighting. Like,
yeah.
to
Yeah.
the ultimate.
Yeah.
I
extreme.
think it was it Tyler Madden? Somebody, one of the prospects was reading a book about like sleep science, and like,
Yeah.
I guess the Vancouver Canucks did a bunch of nap studies a few years back. I don't
Mhm.
remember. But you also designed the Dustin Brown retirement logo.
Oh
right?
yeah.
Who does like the parking spaces in the Kings players lot and the nameplates? Like, there's all sorts of weird little graphic elements that
Yeah.
I never thought about, and yet they're everywhere.
That's all us, and we have good companies that we work with that help us to come up with those things. The Dustin Brown retirement logo came because it was happening somewhat quickly. We as in hockey operations, we wanted to do something for Brownie for what we knew was going to be his last game, which was in Vancouver. So we wanted to just, wear a t-shirt, or I think we ended up with hoodies for that. And then it kind of snowballed after that. We created this logo with our, help of a couple of our companies to put on a hoodie or a hat. And in the end, it ended up being made with pins, and, they had backdrops for his press conference and all sorts of stuff. So it worked out good. But that's kind of how those things usually move along. Usually something speed-wise needs to get done, and that's usually what happens.
How cool was it with this project that they did take into account functionality as well as look? I feel like sometimes you see these and, it looks pretty, but then you run into maybe issues you had before. How nice was it to kind of get the best of both worlds?
Oh, really good. And that's the thing with our staff. Like, everybody was involved. So Chris Kingsley was heavily involved in the training room and, the trauma room that we share with what would be the 4 teams that are there, the 2 visiting teams and the Lakers and us. The guys in the weight room, we wanted to make sure everything, we needed was in that space, and the coaches. And so, to get everybody involved and obviously everybody has huge expectations of what you'd hope to get. But we're, obviously limited in square footage. So, what our footprint is, and then everybody can have input onto what they want for their area. And then we try and get the best for everybody.
So let's talk about the jerseys.
Yeah.
Which were debuted at home ice. Whose decision was it to have them skate in the old jerseys and warm-ups and have the video on the Jumbotron of them waiting to come out? I'm assuming that was filmed during the preseason game.
Yeah, I don't know on that.
Might have even been last year.
It could have been.
Okay.
Shot,
But I mean, I'm assuming they didn't line them up and film a new
Yeah, that's all
clip
game.
of them waiting in the hallway. It must just been recycled footage, right?
Yeah, game presentation and, I assume marketing to a certain extent got involved in that and how they were going to launch this jersey. I mean, for me, from my end, was happy to help. I think the only thing I really needed was that the sock that the uniform has. We had to wear the alternate sock in warm up.
That would have been a massive pain.
Which it's hard for some, not every player, but it's hard for a lot of players to, change that between the time of warm up ending and the game starting, especially in a game like that where the introduction starts so much earlier. So
now I have to go back and watch warm ups, and
Yeah.
I did not even notice, and I knew the switch was coming. And I didn't think.
Yeah, and
even
the
pay attention to
goalies, the goalies wore what
Yes.
would have been their alternate equipment.
Mhm.
But with our colors, with the color not changing, you just thought, oh, Kemp's is wearing a silver pad today. No, it's not a huge issue that he would wear a silver pad at any time. So, so that wasn't as big a deal. But yeah, they were able to pull it off without it getting leaked. That's impressive.
To be clear, the silver pads are what clued me off in the first place.
Oh, yeah.
Because all of a sudden there were silver pads at practice, and I was
Yeah.
like, well, wait a second.
Yeah.
So how do you prevent a leak like that?
I don't know. I mean, I think there's a lot of people that get involved in building these uniforms as far as retail and like all the, even from my end, all the equipment companies are involved because we had a helmet color change. So they're all involved in producing that. So they will see stuff as far as color. And then all the goalie companies are involved because again, the colors, but then there's also mask artwork. So I'm having to send them basically our deck of what's going to be our uniform, signing NDAs and all that stuff. But then, it gets even bigger when you start talking about companies like Fanatics that are producing hats and T-shirts, and not just for the team, but for retail use. So there's a lot of potential for something getting leaked.
What's interesting as little things came out, it almost felt like it built the anticipation more, because almost every team released a jersey before they wore it. It's just the standard
It was like
flow,
6 or
but
7
then
teams too, right?
You see the artwork for, maybe Anton Forsberg's new mask goes out, and
Yeah.
you see pictures of the pads or of certain things, and it's like, okay, like obviously something's coming here. It doesn't come, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, it can't come tonight, and then it just does. Like, it's kind of a cool moment, I thought.
Yeah, I thought it was good how they pulled it off, and then another team did it
Penguins, yeah.
just after, right?
Yeah.
They wore the helmet in warm-up. I noticed they had the gold helmet on, which was different.
You think they're just sitting there just being like, come on. Like,
Yeah.
as they watch the Kings, it's just like, we've been planning this for months.
Yeah.
And then it's
Do you
just-
communicate with other staffs about that sort of thing?
Yeah, game presentation on that group will work with me on what they
But like, do you
what
talk
they
to
want to
anybody
do.
from Pittsburgh?
No, I did not
Okay.
talk to anybody from Pittsburgh. No, I'm not too worried about that.
It was like when Kopitar and Kershaw retired on the same day. And you're like,
Yeah.
did
Yeah.
nobody from
Nobody
either of the
planned
two
this
teams.
here?
Yeah.
Like, nobody talked to the LA Times from either team, and like,
Yeah.
they just like
don't know what
backed
you
it.
don't know, right?
I guess
Yeah.
That's
but
right.
That's why, like I said, even there's other companies involved. But anyway,
Mhm.
So the decision to go with just the crown on the front, Zach and I spoke to you, I think it was a year ago, right?
Mhm.
Maybe 13 months ago, and we spoke to Kelly Cheeseman, and that I can't remember if they explicitly said there will be a third jersey with a crown on the front, but it was pretty heavily hinted at. So
Yeah.
I mean, this must have been in the works for a while.
Yeah, no, the uniform was definitely in works for a while. I think Cheese and maybe Luke had said that the crown was a potential to be on the front. I know Luke really wanted to, pay some respect or have some look of our 1960s jerseys with the new uniform, which, the striping pattern is pretty much a match to the old purple and gold one. And obviously the logo is, very close, updated, but very close.
How important was it to get a dark jersey? It felt like the Chrome Domes, while I really like the look, worn a lot on the road just due to like logistical issues with that. Was having like a priority this time around?
I think it pretty much has to be now. It's not that you can't have a white alternate or third jersey, but having a dark one makes it so much easier. There's a lot of factors, not just having a team bring their other uniform if you're, say, wearing a white one at home. That's one factor. But now with the advertising on the jersey, there's all sorts of issues with what that advertising for the other team. They may have issues where they're, they're advertising for 41
think
games.
about that.
And then all of a sudden that home jersey is being worn on the
Right.
road. So it is a big factor. There's other issues with advertising as far as gambling and in California we can't have it on our jerseys, but I don't even know. But say Vegas has it on theirs, they wouldn't be able to wear that jersey in California.
Oh, because one of their sponsors
Could be a gambling site or
Gotcha.
a company. So that it
would not have ever thought about that.
to
as
start
being
to ask
passive.
teams to make changes is
Right.
not as easy as it used to be in the past.
I always heard when third jerseys started getting introduced in 1996, I think the rumor that spread and sort of became common wisdom was that it was about laundry. It was about when you travel, you don't want to have to bring 2 sets of everything.
Yeah,
So-
it could be. It does make it difficult. The way we travel now is not as that is not as huge a factor. But back then in the 90s when teams were still flying commercially, it made it very difficult.
So the stripes and the crown are reminiscent of the 1967 jersey. And again, if you don't know what the heck we're talking about, in 1967 when the team debuted, they wore purple and gold, single stripe at the waist and at the elbows. Elbows?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. And then the crown is, and we talked about this last year, updated for multiple reasons. When was the decision made to go with a helmet that is silver, but not silver in the way that the chrome domes were? Like it's 2 different silver helmets, but 2 very different helmets.
Yeah, I think probably we wanted to introduce a new silver color. That was one reason. Why a new silver? I'm not totally sure, but I'm thinking it had a lot to do with the chrome helmet glared heavily on TV. And when we started to switch to advertising on the helmet, the advertising wasn't visible. So I'm assuming that had played a big factor in it as far as marketing goes. But we did want to introduce a new color. And I think the idea was that and you see this with a lot of teams, is that there's potential to wear any helmet with any uniform. I don't think white would look great with the black jersey, for example, but I suppose a team could do it if they wanted. But you see a lot now where Carolina's wearing their red helmet in mostly all games. Anaheim and San Jose wear their dark helmet with all their uniforms as much as they can. So I think the idea was that the silver could maybe be introduced among any of our uniforms. I'm not sure the potential to do that, but I think the idea is there that it could be worn with any of the 3 uniforms that we have now.
Could it go the other way too? Could the matte blacks
Yeah.
work with these as well potentially?
Yeah, no, I think the matte black would look great too. With that uniform. I think down the road, I think we could potentially see that introduced with that uniform. And, I think it's no different than, with a team like Carolina's wearing their red with their white jersey. It's, they're just mixing it up. And the league's really opened it up for us now too, where before there was a lot of procedure to get approval to do that. Now it's a lot easier to do that. As long as you're not playing, we might not be able to wear our silver helmet versus Vegas if they're wearing their kind of that battleship gray color, or a red versus red. They won't allow that. But
was it you that we were talking about? I can't remember. Were the Chrome Domes a wrap?
No, the Chrome.
It was about the mats last year.
Oh, it was the matte wrap?
The original Chrome helmet that we wore at Air Force Academy were wrapped. Those were just potentially only for one game.
For those who have no idea what we're talking about, wrap means that the helmet is made and then dipped in reflective material. The material itself isn't the same all the way through.
And then after that Air Force outdoor game, we decided we wanted to wear the Chrome helmet more often. So we had the companies produce that color, which they do now have in their, the three major brands all have in their line. And then as far as the matte helmet, when we introduced that helmet, Vancouver was already wearing it as an alternate. So the companies had it in their line, same thing. So we just tapped into that. Now a lot of teams are wearing matte.
The new silver that the Kings debuted on opening night, it's more of a fleck material. Was that difficult to get? Did the helmet companies have that already available?
It was difficult. It had to be produced custom. So our silver is a custom helmet that they have to produce. Takes 8 to 12 weeks if I'm lucky.
Did you have to buy in bulk in case somebody cracks one open?
Yeah, that's the unfortunate part about custom helmets is you have to buy bulk, and they won't. If I buy a black helmet or a white helmet, they have loads of them in inventory. But
how big an order are we talking about custom wise? There's a scene in, I think it was Batman Begins, where they say like they have to buy 10,000 in bulk to avoid suspicion. Like, are you buying 10,000 helmets?
Not that many, but I got a lot of helmets that nobody wears that just sit on the shelf just in case of a trade or something like that. Wow.
How many iterations of silver did you guys toy around with in this process? Like, was it this is what we wanted, we just made this, or were there like prototypes?
Good question. We did have a few different colors that we went through. It started with Ohio State wears a silver helmet. I received a sample from them. Air Force wears a silver helmet that I received a sample of their helmet. Those two schools were painting their helmets just like the football teams do. So they were just essentially copying what the football team already had. And we can't just paint helmets. It needs to be built for certification and that type of thing. So we took those two, started there, kind of drifted towards the New England Patriots helmet color, which does have a fleck, like it has a little bit of a reflection, silver in it, almost like a speck. And it is very hard to reproduce, and it's very hard for every company to reproduce exactly the same. So if I brought up, all the brands, all the models, you would see slight differences, but they're not visible to TV or somebody that's sitting 10 rows back.
I feel like, and maybe I'm imagining the Patriots helmets differently, but I feel like the Patriots helmets and the Cowboys helmets are both silver, but they're two very different kinds of silver.
Yeah.
But you have to be looking close
Very.
to tell. Was there ever a thought to go the Cowboys route version of silver?
We didn't look at the Cowboy. I mean, we looked at a lot, and Vegas has one too. Raiders. They have a silver that they use. It's very close again to New England's. But I think we had to get to a part where we had a starting point, because it was too hard for the companies to try and just start painting swatches and stuff. And we're trying to, we did want something that matched the striping, where the striping is glitter, and we wanted something that was not chrome, not that glittery, but something that still gave some reflective look to it.
So I've already shown Zach my idea, but I this might explain why it wouldn't work. If you wanted the glitter look, my thought was I would like to see silver shorts and silver gloves with the rest of the uniform to make silver like a full accent element. But I guess you wouldn't be getting glitter shorts and glitter gloves. You'd be getting solid silver, which could theoretically throw off the whole aesthetic.
Glitter is not the easiest color, I guess, to replicate in certain materials. So we've looked at putting the glitter on our pants, on the striping, which we already have I'll call it a gray, but it's meant to be silver. And the glove is meant to be silver. It's technically a gray. But those two materials that the glove and the pant are made out of, the glitter doesn't work in those materials that they use, or it won't hold up, especially on the pant. If we could put the glitter just like the jersey onto the pant, but there's so much wear and tear on the pant that I don't think it would hold up for very long, and we'd just be replacing them all the time. So
it almost becomes a situation where, like, if you were to try it on the pant as like the base color of the pant, it would just look distorted, or it would look off from the jersey, right? If you didn't have the perfect,
it would have to be a one game thing if we did it, almost like when we wore the white in San Jose or in San Francisco for that outdoor game, because obviously white would be hard to wear all season long. You guys would be wearing so many pants, it'd be crazy.
You get a Roberto Luongo situation.
And the font on the nameplates and the captain's letters, that's the bespoke font, correct? That the Kings adopted last year?
Yeah, that's we're keeping with the idea was to keep it within the kind of the brand guidelines that we were using. I personally like it. I think it stands out a lot more than especially when you're only using one color. If you're not using any white in there, which we weren't, it's hard to layer it. So I think it stands out well because of the size of that font.
So we knew last summer that there was a third jersey sort of over the horizon. We didn't necessarily know when it was showing up. We've got the new jersey. We've got the new helmet. We've got, is there anything else lurking? You don't have to tell me what, but is there anything in the future, or are we pretty much set with 3 looks for now?
Yeah, no, there's a couple things that are down the road. Nothing we can talk about yet, but we're working on a couple of different, league produced one, almost like reverse retro was, and then the potential for adding in a 4th uniform. I think that potential is there too.
Does the league have rules about how many different looks you can, if a team wanted to wear 82 different uniforms for all 82 games, or 84 thing. Yeah, exactly.
I think they would probably push back on that many. I think 4,
but is it an Air Bud situation where there's no rule that says you can't do it?
I think if you just ask. I think the biggest thing is all the jerseys and socks are only made by one company in Canada. They also produce the practice jersey. They also produce jerseys for other leagues, and I think we'd be tapping out production for that. It's not a huge company, but we'd be probably tapping them out a little bit if we went 82 uniforms. I think we had 4 for a little while back when a few years ago when we had the purple and gold mixed in as well. So I think there's always the potential for that down the road.
And I'll just throw it out there because I know I can hear the keyboards typing already. Any possibility of purple reintegrating into any future looks?
I think it is.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Good enough. Good. All right. Darren Granger, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. Zach Dooley, thanks as always. And thanks for watching, Kings fans. We'll talk to you soon.